with the hope that you will all be well. Let's start today's lecture. In this lecture, we will study about Brayton cycle, which is the ideal cycle for gas turbine engines. The Brayton cycle was first proposed by George Brayton for use in the reciprocating oil-burning engine that he developed around 1870s. In today's date, it is used for gas turbines only where the compression and expansion processes take place in rotating machinery. So first we will discuss about an open cycle gas turbine. Gas turbines usually operate on an open cycle as shown here in figure. As you can see, fresh air at ambient conditions is drawn into the compressor where its temperature and pressure are raised. The high pressure air proceeds into the combustion chamber where the fuel is burned at constant pressure. The resulting high temperature gases then enter the turbine where they expand to the atmospheric pressure while producing power. However, the exhaust gases leaving the turbine are thrown out, not circulated, causing the cycle to be classified as an open cycle. So after discussing about open gas turbine cycle, now we will discuss about closed cycle. The open gas turbine cycle described in previous slide can be modeled as a closed cycle as shown here in figure. We can achieve this by utilizing the standard air assumptions described in the previous lecture. Here the compression and expansion processes remain the same, but the combustion process is replaced by a constant pressure heat addition process from an external source, and the exhaust process is replaced by a constant pressure heat rejection process to an ambient air. The ideal cycle that the working fluid undergoes in this closed loop is actually the Brayton cycle, which is made up of 4 internally reversible processes. The 4 reversible processes are follows as: process 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression in a compressor. Process 2 to 3 is the constant pressure heat addition. Process 3 to 4 is the isentropic expansion process in a turbine. And finally, process 4 to 1 is the constant pressure heat rejection process in heat exchanger. However, the TS and PV diagrams of an ideal Brayton cycle are shown in figures here. As we discussed that process 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression process. So the entropy of the working fluid is constant during process 1 to 2. However, the volume of the working fluid decreases while the pressure increases. After that, process 2 to 3, that is the constant pressure heat addition process. So the pressure is constant during this heat addition process while the temperature increases. Process 3 to 4 is the isentropic expansion in a turbine. As the process is isentropic means no change in entropy of the working fluid during this process. But due to the expansion process, its volume increases while pressure decreases. And finally, process 4 to 1, which is the constant pressure heat rejection process. During this heat rejection process, the temperature and entropy of the fluid decreases. Here it is important to note that all the 4 processes of the Brayton cycle are executed in steady flow devices. Thus, they should be analyzed as steady flow processes. When the changes in kinetic and potential energies are negligible, and the energy balance for a steady flow process can be expressed on a unit mass basis as Q in minus Q out plus W in minus W out is equal to change in enthalpy. Here Q in is actually the heat addition during the process 2 to 3. In the same way, Q out is the heat rejection in atmosphere during process 4 to 1. While W in is the amount of work required to run a compressor, and it is actually the amount of work required during the process 1 to 2. W out is the amount of work produced in a turbine during process 3 to 4. So therefore the heat transfer to and from the working fluid can be expressed as Q in, that is actually the heat transfer to the system during the process 2 to 3. Q in is equal to H3 minus H2. Here H3 and H2 are the enthalpies at state 3 and state 2 respectively. We can also express the amount of heat addition in the form of temperatures as Cp T3 minus T2. T3 and T2 are the temperatures at state 3 and state 2 respectively, while Cp is the specific heat capacity of the working fluid. In the same way, we can express the Q out as H4 minus H1. H4 and H1 are the enthalpies at state 4 and state 1 respectively, and in the form of temperatures it can be expressed as Cp T4 minus T1. T4 and T1 are the temperatures at state 4 and state 1 as we discussed for the case of heat addition process. Then the thermal efficiency of the ideal Brayton cycle under the cold air standard assumptions becomes W net over Q in. As we know that W net can be expressed as Q in minus Q out, so the equation for efficiency can be written as 1 minus Q out over Q in. Now put the expressions of Q in and Q out here in equation. So after putting these expressions, the equation for efficiency becomes 1 minus Cp T4 minus T1 divided by Cp T3 minus T2. Here cancel out Cp, and by taking T1 and T2 common from numerator and denominator, the equation can be expressed as 1 minus T1 T4 over T1 minus 1 divided by T2 T3 over T2 minus 1. As we know that the process 1 to 2 and 3 to 4 are isentropic processes, and the process 2 to 3 and 4 to 1 are the constant pressure processes. So we can write it as P2 is equal to P3 and P4 is equal to P1. So from the thermodynamic property relation, that is T2 over T1 is equal to P2 over P1 par K minus 1 over K. Here K is the specific heat ratio. As we discussed that P2 is equal to P3 and P4 is equal to P1, the equation becomes P3 over P4 par K minus 1 over K, that is equal to T3 over T4. So we can write it as T2 over T1 is equal to T3 over T4. That can also be written as T4 over T1 is equal to T3 over T2. And the above equation, after replacing T4 over T1 with T3 over T2, can be expressed as 1 minus T1 over T2. However, substituting the temperature pressure relation into the thermal efficiency relation, and after simplifying this, the expression for thermal efficiency can be written as 1 minus 1 over Rp par K minus 1 over K. Here Rp is the pressure ratio and K is the specific heat ratio. The Rp can be expressed as P2 over P1. So this equation shows that under the cold air standard assumptions, the thermal efficiency of the ideal Brayton cycle depends on the pressure ratio of the gas turbine and the specific heat ratio of the working fluid. The thermal efficiency increases with both of these parameters, which is also the case for actual gas turbines. A plot of thermodynamic efficiency versus the pressure ratio is given in figure here for K is equal to 1.4, which is actually the specific heat ratio value of air at room temperature. The highest temperature in the cycle occurs at the end of the combustion process, that is actually a state 3, and it is limited by the maximum temperature that the turbine blades can withstand. This also limits the pressure ratios that can be used in the cycle. For a fixed turbine inlet temperature, the net work output per cycle increases with the pressure ratio reaches a maximum value and then starts to decrease. Therefore, there should be a compromise between the pressure ratio, thus the thermal efficiency, and the net work output. With less net work output per cycle, a larger mass flow rate is needed to maintain the same power output, which not be an economical process. In most common designs, the pressure ratio of gas turbine ranges from about 11 to 16. Now we will talk about functions of air in gas turbine and applications of gas turbine. The air in gas turbines perform two important functions. It supplies the necessary oxidant for the combustion of the fuel, and it serves as a coolant to keep the temperature of various components within safe limits. In gas turbines, an air-fuel mass ratio of 50 or above is not uncommon. Therefore, in a cycle analysis, treating the combustion gases as air does not cause any appreciable error. Also, the mass flow rate through the turbine is greater than that through the compressor, the difference being equal to the mass flow rate of the fuel. Thus, assuming a constant mass flow rate throughout the cycle yields conservative results for open-loop gas turbine engines. Now we will discuss about applications of gas turbine. The two major application areas of gas turbine engines are aircraft and electric power generator. When it is used for aircraft propulsion, the gas turbine produces just enough power to drive the compressor and a small generator to power the auxiliary components. The high velocity exhaust gases are responsible for producing the necessary thrust to propel the aircraft. Gas turbines are also used in stationary power plants to generate electricity as standalone units or in conjunction with steam power plants on the high temperature sides. In these plants, the exhaust gases of the gas turbine serve as the heat source for the steam. The gas turbine cycle can also be executed as a closed cycle for use in nuclear power plants. This time the working fluid is not limited to air, and a gas with more desirable characteristics such as helium can be used. Another important term is back work ratio. In gas turbine power plants, the ratio of the compressor work to the turbine work called the back work ratio, and its value is very high for the case of gas turbine power plants. Usually more than one half of the turbine work output is used to drive the compressor. The situation is even more worse when the isentropic efficiencies of the compressor and the turbine are low. This is quite in contrast to steam power plants where the back work ratio is only a few percent. This is not surprising. However, since a liquid is compressed in steam power plants instead of a gas, and the steady flow work is proportional to the specific volume of the working fluid, a power plant with a high back work ratio requires a larger turbine to provide the additional power requirements of the compressor. Therefore, the turbines used in gas turbine power plants are larger than those in steam power plants of the same network output. So after studying about Brayton cycle, which is the ideal cycle for gas turbine engines, now we will try to solve a problem by applying what we learned theoretically for better understanding of the topic. So here is the problem. The problem statement is a gas turbine power plant operating on an ideal Brayton cycle has a pressure ratio of 8. The gas temperature is 300 Kelvin at the compressor inlet and 1300 Kelvin at the turbine inlet. Utilizing the air standard assumptions, we have to find out the gas temperature at the exits of the compressor and the turbine. In part B, we have to determine the back work ratio, and in part C, we have to find out the thermal efficiency of the cycle. So after analyzing the problem statement, now we will move towards the solution. A power plant operating on the ideal Brayton cycle is considered. The compressor and turbine exit temperatures, back work ratio, and thermal efficiencies are to be determined. We have to assume that the steady flow operating conditions exist, the air standard assumptions are applicable, kinetic and potential energy changes are negligible, and the variation of specific heats with temperatures is to be considered. First, we have to draw the TS diagram of the cycle. As we know that here you can see the TS diagram of the cycle. The inlet temperature at the compressor inlet and the turbine inlet are given in the statement, that is 300 Kelvin and 1300 Kelvin respectively. So here is the process 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression process. So the entropy is constant during this process. Process 2 to 3 is the constant pressure heat addition process. Process 3 to 4 is isentropic expansion process, isentropic expansion in a turbine, and process 4 to 1 is the constant pressure heat rejection process. So in part A, the air temperature at the compressor and turbine exits are determined. Process 1 to 2 is the isentropic compression process and the temperature at compressor inlet or at state 1 is given, that is 300 Kelvin. Now we have to see the relative pressure and enthalpy against 300 Kelvin. For this we have to move on table A17. At 300 Kelvin the enthalpy is 300.19 kJ per kg and relative pressure is 1.3860. So note down these values. After then we have to use the pressure ratio relation, that is PR2 over PR1 is equal to P2 over P1. After rearranging we can express it as PR2 is equal to P2 over P1 multiplied by PR1. This relation is for relative pressure at point 2. Here PR1 and PR2 represents the relative pressure at state 1 and state 2 respectively. The value of pressure ratio P2 over P1 already given in the problem statement, that is 8. While we just see the value of PR1 from table, that was 1.386. So after putting all the known values, the relative pressure at point 2 will be 11.09. Now once again we have to move on table A17 to see the temperature against relative pressure 11.09. At table A17 here is the value 11.10, that is much close to the value 11.09. So we can see the temperature against 11.10. At 11.10 the temperature is 540 Kelvin and enthalpy is 544.35 kJ per kg. So note down these values. At compressor outlet or at state 2 the temperature is 540 Kelvin and enthalpy is 544.35 kJ per kg. As we see against the relative pressure 11.09 from the table. So after calculating the desired values at state 2, now we have to find out the temperature at state 4 or at turbine exit. However, we know that the process 3 to 4 is an isentropic expansion process and temperature at state 3 or at turbine inlet is given in statement, that is 1300 Kelvin. Now we have to adopt the same method as we used for temperature at compressor outlet during process 1 to 2. And once again we have to see the relative pressure and enthalpy values against 1300 Kelvin. For this we have to move on table A17. Here at table A17, that is actually the table for ideal gas properties of air. At 1300 Kelvin the relative pressure is 330.9 and enthalpy is 1395.97 kJ per kg. So note down these values. Now as we already discussed that we have to adopt the same method or technique as we used for temperature at compressor outlet during process 1 to 2. So use pressure ratio relation. It can be expressed as for process 3 to 4 as PR4 is equal to P4 over P3 multiplied by PR3. We know that the pressure ratio P2 over P1 is 8, while we also know that the pressure at state 2 is equal to pressure at state 3 and pressure at state 1 is equal to pressure at state 4. Because process 2 to 3 is the constant pressure heat addition process and process 4 to 1 is the constant pressure heat rejection process. So we can write this equation as P4 over P3 can be replaced with 1 over 8 and also know the value of PR3, that is 330.9. So after simplifying the relative pressure, P4 will be equal to 41 41.36. To note down the temperature against 41.36, again we will move on table A17. So here the value 41.36 is in between 39.27 and 43.35. And to find out the temperature and enthalpy values against 41.36, we have to use interpolation. I am giving this task to students to find out the desired values using interpolation. However, the temperature will be 770 Kelvin and enthalpy will be 789.37 kilojoule per kg. In part B, we have to find out the back work ratio. For this, we need to find the work input to the compressor and work output of the turbine. As we know, we can express W in or W compressor as H2 minus H1. We know the values of H2 and H1. So after some simplifications, the value of W compressor will be 244.16 kilojoule per kg. We also know that the expression for W turbine or W out can be expressed as H3 minus H4. We also have the values of H3 and H4 that are 1395.97 and 789.37 respectively. So after putting the values, W out will be 606.60 kilojoule per kg. After determining W out or W in, now we can find out the back work ratio by using the expression W compressor in divided by W turbine out. W compressor is 244.16 and W turbine is 606.60 kilojoule per kg. So the back work ratio will be 0.403. That is 40.3% of the turbine work output is just used to drive the compressor. However, in part C, the thermal efficiency of the cycle has to be determined. We know that the thermal efficiency of the cycle is the ratio of the net power output to the total heat input. So for this, we have to determine the heat input and net work output. Heat input can be expressed as H3 minus H2. We know the values of H3 and H2. So we can easily find out Q in, that will be 851.62 kilojoule per kg. However, W net is equal to W out minus W in. We have just calculated both these values, that was 606.60 and 244.16 kilojoule per kg respectively. And W net will be equal to 362.4 kilojoule per kg. So after calculating Q in and W net, now we can find out the efficiency by using the expression W out over Q in. Put all the required values and the efficiency will be 0.426 or 42.6%. Now we will determine the efficiency under cold air standard assumptions or at constant specific heat values. The thermal efficiency would be expressed as 1 minus 1 over Rp par K minus 1 over K. Here K is the specific heat ratio of air at room temperature and it is equal to 1.4. The value of Rp already given in the statement, that is 8, or the pressure ratio. So after putting all the values, we can find out the efficiency. The efficiency will be 0.448, which is sufficiently close to the value obtained by accounting for the variations of specific heats with temperature. So in this lecture, we studied the Brayton cycle, the ideal cycle for gas turbine engines. We see the working principle of the cycle, discussed important terms and see the energy analysis. And at the end of this lecture, we solved a problem and apply what we learned theoretically. Thank you for your attention.